go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to Books in Focus. Thank you for joining us to talk about books coming out in February. I'm Nicole. We're also joined by Patrick and Ash. Please stop us if you have any questions or comments. Engagement is encouraged. We like to start off by talking about some instant bestsellers, things, authors you've heard of before, but just to kind of remind you in case you want to get on hold for that, we spend a little less time talking about these because you're probably more familiar with these, including number one, James Patterson. His newest is called Paranoia. This is going to be in his Michael Bennett series. Detective Michael Bennett is feeling a great sadness and great paranoia because a lot of police funerals have come up on his invite card lately. He is finding similarities in these cases and he must figure out who did it before he becomes the next victim. The newest from J.D. Robb is in her In-Depth series. In this one, his passport may say Giovanni Rossi, but decades ago he was part of a secret organization called the 12. After getting a call and easing himself, talking about the victim, Giovanni, into a waiting car, he's dead. The car explodes. Lieutenant Eve Dallas has to solve the case and then finds out that Giovanni Rossi is not the only member of the 12 who has died under mysterious circumstances. The newest one from Jonathan Kellerman, the body of an aspiring actress has been found in LA, and the main suspect is a stunt double. But then the trail goes cold, and the murder weapon is found to be used in a previous crime. It's a lot for psychologist Alex Delaware and Detective Milo Surgis to cover. The newest from Ann Taylor, a little bit more on the literary side, is called 3 Days in June. This one focuses on a socially awkward mother of the bride navigating the very stressful period before and during her daughter's wedding. Of course, with Taylor, we expect some emotions and a sharp sense of humor. There's going to be joys and the heartbreaks of family and marriage. The newest from Jojo Moyes, We All Live Here, gives me similar feelings. Lila Kennedy is juggling a broken marriage, an unpredictable career, 2 wayward daughters, and a seemingly falling apart house, and an elderly stepfather who has moved himself right on in. Just when she thinks she can't handle anymore, her real dad shows up on her doorstep after a 25-year absence. Drama and comedy will surely ensue. Another mystery from C.J. Box, Battle Mountain. Outlaw falconer Nate is off the grid and out for revenge after losing everything in the previous in the series. Last book. Joe gets a call from the governor asking for help finding his son-in-law, and these two men's paths will converge on Battle Mountain. The newest from Steve Barry, The Medici Return, is 19th in the Cotton Malone series. A former Justice Department operative has been asked to help with a Swiss guard investigate a cardinal. The cardinal is being accused of bribery and theft. And when tracking the money, Cotton Malone and the Swiss guard find a body and a never-before-seen 16th century document from the Vatican that may have modern repercussions. And last but not least, we have the newest from Marie Benedict. This one is called The Queens of Crime. I think a lot of you in here might enjoy it. It takes place in 1930s London. 5 great female crime writers band together and form a secret society. They call themselves the Queens of Crime. They are sick of being treated like second-class citizens by the legendary London Detective Club. And these women include Agatha Christie and Dorothy L. Sayers. They're going to work together to solve a strangling murder that took place in France. And the Queens of Crime was inspired by a mysterious tale from Dorothy L. Sayers' own life. Should be good.
Okay, so in the world of nonfiction, Bill Gates has an autobiography coming out called Source Code. So this is the origin story of one of the most influential and transformative business leaders and philanthropists of the modern age. It's the human, personal story of how Gates became who he is today, his childhood, friendships, struggles, etc., all told by Gates himself. Memorial Days is a heartrending memoir by Pulitzer Prize-winning author Geraldine Brooks about her experience mourning her partner of more than 3 decades when he died suddenly at 60 years old. It's a portrait of a larger-than-life man and a timeless love between souls that exquisitely captures joy, agony, and mystery of life. Chuck Schumer has a book coming out called Anti-Semitism in America, A Warning. This is a work of nonfiction that illuminates the Jewish experience and the prejudices, both hidden and overt, that led to the chronic persecution of the Jewish people. The book informs Americans' understanding of the causes of the recent swell of anti-Semitic rhetoric and violence in our country. Craig Groeschel, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, has a new book out called The Benefit of Doubt. He is a best-selling author and pastor, and in his book, he shows readers that doubt is not the enemy of faith, but often an invitation to deeper faith. With his trademark humor, warmth, and lay it all on the table style, Groeschel shows how asking questions, seeking answers, and wrestling with doubt can lead to a deeper relationship with God. Money, Lies, and God is an in-depth look at the American far right by journalist Catherine Stewart, in which she describes the various elements that she argues are trying to tear down our democracy. Becoming Spectacular is a memoir written by the first African-American rockette, in which she charts her journey to one of the world's most celebrated dance troupes. Legends and Souls is a memoir from one of the most influential sports marketing executives in basketball, who is credited with discovering Michael Jordan and thereby becoming the savior of Nike. And then lastly, Alton Brown has a book out called Food for Thought. This is a collection of personal essays from the best-selling cookbook author and beloved culinary food personality. It's deliciously candid and full of behind-the-scenes stories that fans will love. All right. So Lisa Unger has a new thriller coming out. Close your eyes and count to 10. This is an extreme game of hide and seek turns deadly in this gripping new theme thriller. So a famous daredevil has invited a group of people to participate in the ultimate game of hide and seek on a beautiful island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean for a $1 million prize. When a storm hits, what starts as a social media stunt turns into a test of survival. The action centers around one participant, single mother Adele, who entered the competition with the encouragement of her 2 teenage children. Booklist says, Unger explores themes of the dangers of social media, the lengths a mother will go to protect her children, and the dark side of reality television. So if that sounds good, you might also check out Don't Look Back by Greg Hurwitz. In this one, a newly single mother finds herself in the crosshairs of a dangerous man after stumbling off the path during a hiking trip in southern Mexico. And then another similar read would be The Guest List by Lucy Foley. In this one, a celebrity island wedding is thrown into turmoil by petty jealousies and an untimely murder. Isola. This story is set in 16th century France and is loosely based on the life of a real woman. Marguerite is the heir to a French estate. But when her parents die when she is still a child, her inheritance falls into the hands of her legal guardian, who squanders it. On an expedition with her guardian across the ocean to New France, she falls for the guardian's handsome secretary, a circumstance which infuriates the guardian, who presumably had intended to take her as his own, and prompts him to abandon them both on a small island. Goodman's lush and enthralling castaway tale of betrayal and love, suffering and strength is magnificent in its beauty, mystery, fury, and redemption. A couple similar reads would be The Whaleboat Theater by Joanna Quinn. I'm sure most of you are familiar with. That is an immersive novel about a young heroine who becomes an undercover agent during World War II. And then another historically set book with a female protagonist is The Tower by Flora Carr. This is a reimagining of Mary Queen of Scots' darkest hour, when she was held hostage in a remote Scottish castle with a handful of loyal women.
Good afternoon, ladies. How are you all? All right. The Antique Hunter's Death on the Red Sea by C.L. Miller is a mystery coming out in February. This is a sequel to The Antique Hunter's Guide to Murder, where antique huntress Freya Lockwood and her glamorous aunt return to solve a fresh murder while stuck aboard an antique art cruise, and soon find that the ship is filled with stolen antiques. And if the murder and a massive heist weren't hair-raising enough, the crime-solving duo uncover something even more sinister. Critics praise Miller's factual insights into the world of art trade and rave that this sequel has managed to be more captivating than the original. Our real likes are going to be The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. When a journalist wins a ticket for an exclusive cruise with classy parties in a plush cabin, she becomes the only witness to a murder of a woman in the cabin next door. But no one believes her, as the body has been tossed overboard and all souls are present and accounted for. And Maid by Nita Prose, an oddball maid finds a wealthy guest murdered in his room. And to clear her name, she and her medley of friends band together to solve the crime before it's too late and she finds herself behind bars.
Death on the Red Sea, is that the first of that, or that?
This is the second.
That's the second.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the first one?
The Antique Hunter's Guide to Murder. Last Twilight in Paris by Pan Janoff. In 1953 London, Louis, a housewife adjusting to life after the war, finds a necklace in a second-hand shop that seems strangely familiar. She realizes it might be connected to her work with the Red Cross in Nazi-occupied Europe and to the mysterious death of her friend Franny during the war. Determined to uncover the truth, Louis travels to Paris and seeks help from Ian, her former boss and lover. Together they uncover the dark history of Leviton, a once glamorous department store that was used as a Nazi prison. They also learn about Helene, a woman imprisoned there and torn from her husband when the Germans invaded France. As Louise digs deeper, she races to uncover the link between the necklace, Leviton, and Franny's death, but some forces are determined to keep the truth hidden. This is inspired by the true story of Leviton. Last Twilight in Paris is gripping mystery about sacrifice, resistance, and the power of love during the darkest of times. Real likes are going to be The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which is also set in this was set during World War II in Nazi-occupied France. It tells a story of two sisters, Vianne and Isabelle, who take different paths in their efforts to survive and resist the brutal occupation. And the Alice Network by Kate Quinn alternates between two women's stories, one a British spy during World War I and the other an American woman searching for answers in post-World War II Europe. And Midnight Black by Mark Greaney. This is number 14 in the Gray Man novel series. Court gentry, known as the Gray Man, is driven by a single belief: she's not dead. His lover, Zoya Zakharova, has fallen into the hands of Russian intelligence, and the CIA believes she's been executed. For 6 months, Court has used every means: bribery, violence, and assassination to try to rescue her. But now he's out of options. His last hope is a desperate and dangerous plan to enlist an underground network of anti-communist activists who once helped dissidents escape the Soviet Union. If he can reactivate this long-dormant group, he might just have a chance. My reader likes for this are going to be the Mid-Trap series and the Scott Harbath series. We have the beginning with the second in the Vince Bland Mid-Trap series. In the years since being trained by the CIA, Mid-Trap has methodically taken down the network responsible for the Pan Am Lockerbie bombing, leading him to Paris where a deadly trap results in 9 bodies. And then Lions of Lucerne is the first in the Scott Harbath series. After a terrorist attack kills 30 Secret Service agents and kidnaps the US president, surviving agent and ex-Navy SEAL Scott Harbath suspects the suspect terrorist group, Fatah, isn't responsible and vows to avenge his fallen comrades.
Thank you. Next up, on a lighter note, the newest romance from Allie Hazelwood. Has anyone ever read Allie Hazelwood? Okay, she's definitely on my to-be-read list because she's a romance author, and I don't usually read romance, but she is a brain surgeon in her day-to-day. I find that fascinating. So one of these days I'm going to read one. I can't promise it'll be Deep End, though. In Deep End, Scarlett is our main character. She's almost done at Stanford. She's a student athlete, and she's a platform diver, is her student athlete job, career? I don't know. Now I'm getting off my notes here. So she is a student athlete who platform dives. She keeps to herself, and her goal is to get into med school. She's recovering from an injury. She tells herself she has no time for relationships. But she meets Lucas. Lucas is a swim team captain and a world champion swimmer, and he thrives off structure and discipline. Friends that they have in common say they are too opposite, too crazy to get along. These personalities definitely clash. But a well-guarded secret comes out, and things start to change. The tagline is, as the Olympic trials heat up, so does their relationship. So, read the likes, it made me think of last year's Icebreakers. This was a bestseller. It's about Anastasia working on her team at the competitive USA competitive figure skating team, and a facilities mishap leads her to meet with the hockey team captain Nate. I'm sure he's dreaming. Also last year was Variation, and this is from best-selling author of Fourth Wing. She wrote this one about a successful dancer returning home and finding some family secrets. Local lifeguard Hudson is always at the right place at the right time. So Amanda Flower, who hopefully is on everyone's radar because she was our local author keynote speaker last year, has a newest one. This is the third in a mystery series. So don't start with I Died for Beauty. We have her previous ones if you're interested. This is a Emily Dickinson mystery series. In this installment, Emily and her maid Willa are struggling to survive a brutal Amherst winter in 1857. A fire breaks out in the Irish community. It kills a young couple and leaves behind their young child. Emily and Willa have suspicions that there's more going on to this fire than just a simple accident. Read-alikes include Murder at Vinland. This one focuses on reporter Emma Cross Andrews, who must stop a bold poisoner in the community who is targeting society wives in Newport, Rhode Island. And then the last installment, Jane and the Final Mystery by Stephanie Barron, is the last installment in her Jane Austen mystery series. This one also takes place in winter, and Jane Austen's health is declining. She's working on her latest manuscript, but a child's death at her nephew's college draws her time and attention after a mysterious note is found and rumors of cruel pranks and rites of passage at the school. So this one, Blackwood's Blue Sky, is a reimagining of Beauty and the Beast, okay? Main character here is Birdie. Birdie is struggling. She's struggling in work. She's struggling to take care of her kids. Occasionally she's struggling to fight a hangover. And author Arthur is a scarred recluse. He's avoiding the townspeople. He really only shows up in town if he needs supplies. He's holed up in the hills in a mansion, of course. To Birdie, Arthur has everything that she wants. Privacy, money, a home, land, wildlife. He's kind of living off the land unless he needs something from the shop. On a chance encounter, Birdie will get to meet him and learn more about his life. And she will realize not everything is as simple as it seems, okay? Reviews promise minimal and enjoyable magical realism touches. You know, you would expect that with a reimagining of Beauty and the Beast. And a unique wild winter setting. The author is from Alaska, so that gives an extra familiarity to me. I like that. Made me think of last year's Warm Hands of Ghosts. Took place during the Great War and focuses on a combat nurse who's searching for her brother. Her brother is believed to be dead, but there are some eerie signs that suggest he may not be. Also, After Oz is a retelling. This one's a bit darker than I would expect from Blackwoods and Blue Sky, but it's got some similar notes. Takes place in Kansas in 1896. A tornado destroys the family farm. An 11-year-old Dorothy goes missing for days. Eventually she shows up unhurt, but everyone's as alarmed as she's describing what has happened to her while she was gone. A gripping fantasy mystery. Nesbo's got a new one.
So this is a new, darkly entertaining literary suspense by Norwegian author Joe Nesbo. In this book, Roy and Carl, who are brothers that Nesbo introduced in his earlier book, The Kingdom, they turned to dirty methods to ensure that a new highway runs through their small town and improves their profits. As a matter of fact, both brothers have previous experience in making murders look like accidental deaths. At the same time, their town sheriff has begun using newly acquired technology to help solve cold cases, including the murder of his own father, and begins uncovering new evidence linking the brothers to old crimes. Publishers Weekly says Nesbo brilliantly plunges readers into the psyche of a charming killer, leavening the bloodshed with pop culture references and dashes of the lacerating humor that suffuses his Harry Houlet series. The result is a chilling and darkly funny noir that will haunt readers long after the last page. So, as already stated, The Kingdom is book one. If you want to start with book one and be introduced to Roy and Carl, in this first book, they're both reunited after spending years apart. And another similar read would be So Cold the River by Michael Corrida. This one is a character-driven, compelling story with that same theme of small town corrupt power. And yes, Michael Corrida is visiting the library in
August.
August. The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest is the third book in her Green Sisters series, in which an R&B singer and corporate executive find love. Iris Green, widowed single mother, is the director of a beauty company that is launching a new line, and world-famous musician Angel Hughes is the chosen brand ambassador. As it so happens, Angel has had a crush on Iris for years, and when Iris is assigned to accompany Angel on a tour, their mutual attraction becomes too strong to ignore. The Love Lyric is a charming story that does a good job of balancing tenderness with heat. When in Rome by Sarah Adams is about a burnt-out pop star who's stranded in small town Kentucky, who falls for a notoriously grumpy owner of a local pie shop.
Of course.
And then Jasmine Guillory's While We Were Dating, another similar vibe. This one's a, quote, sizzling romantic comedy about an advertising executive and the actress featured in his latest ad campaign. So very similar setup.
Shoot the Moon by Ava Berry. private investigator, Randy Hall, is drawn into a chilling mystery that reconnects her to a dark chapter of her past. While in high school, Randy spent a reckless summer with her best friends, Alice and Spencer, breaking into homes of the wealthy near Los Angeles during wildfires, committing petty thefts. The summer ended with a risky heist from a powerful musician with underworld connections, and Alice mysteriously vanished shortly afterward. 9 years later, Rainey is a private detective investigating the disappearance of Chloe, a young artist with a troubled history. As Rainey digs deeper into Chloe's case, she uncovers a disturbing pattern of missing artists and traces of her own past, leading her to Alice's cold case. What begins as a missing person investigation soon spirals into something far more dangerous. Rainey's search reveals an underground society tied to drugs, art, and some of Los Angeles' most influential figures. With powerful forces closing in, Rainey races to uncover the truth behind Chloe's disappearance and the long-buried secrets of Alice's vanishing all those years ago. Relays are The God of the Woods, I'm sure you're all very familiar with right now. August 1975, 13-year-old Barbara Van Laar, daughter of a wealthy family that owns a summer camp, goes missing, echoing the disappearance of her older brother 14 years earlier. And The Sea of Lost Girls by Carol Goodman. Tess has worked hard to bury her past and build a life with her husband, a respected professor, and their seemingly well-adjusted son, Rudy, at an elite boarding school. But when Rudy's girlfriend is found dead under suspicious circumstances, Tess's carefully constructed life unravels as her son and husband come under suspicion, and dark secrets from the past and the school's history begin to surface.
Famous Last Words. It's going to Famous Last Words is going to start on the last day of Camilla's maternity leave. She's looking forward to taking her daughter to daycare the next time and returning to her job as a literary agent. When she wakes up, her husband Luke is not there. He's not in bed, he's not downstairs, there's no sign of him. She finds a cryptic note, and when she tunes into the news, she hears of a hostage situation going on in London. The story's taking place in London, and she's worried the unthinkable has happened. It made me think of last month's The Note. A vacation in the Hamptons goes terribly wrong for 3 friends. They help with a drunken prank, and they find themselves under investigation. I also thought of Wrong Place, Wrong Time from the same author. Check out if you want to be familiar with her style, this family thriller style. So her previous one was a mother sees her teenager take part in a brutal crime. And when she passes out from despair, she wakes up the day before and gets another chance at stopping him and intervening. Okay? On a lighter note, every Tom, Dick, and Harry promises to be a comedic tale of criminals and romance. Main character Emma inherits her parents' estate sale business, and it is a handful. She had not anticipated the challenges of becoming an estate liquidator, and she was completely unprepared for the clientele she would be working with: pimps, prostitutes, crooked cops, and art thieves. Should she turn down potential clients because of the shadiness of the business? No, she's got bills to pay. So read every Tom, Dick, and Harry for unique characters, a fun sense of humor, and some twists. Made me think of Marion the Ketchups, which is a sweet comedy of manners following 3 generations of Chicago restaurant owners, family-run restaurant, and the ins and outs of their business and family drama. It also made me think of The Husbands, a bestseller from last year. Lauren, the main character, her husband goes up in the attic, and every time he comes down, it's a different man. And she has to get to know this new husband, and the new husband insists that they're married, and And she doesn't ever quite recall getting married is the weird thing, but they all seem to know her. Promises an assortment of characters, fun, and twists. Junie, I believe this is a debut author. It's going to focus on 16-year-old Junie, who cooks and cleans for her master's family, including their daughter Violet in Alabama. Junie daydreams of faraway worlds. She makes up poems, and she grieves the loss of her older sister. Wealthy guests arrive to her master's estate, and there are plans and talk to marry off Violet, the master's daughter. And Junie finds herself in a bad situation, and she makes an even worse decision. And with the help of Caleb, the guest's driver, she uncovers some dark secrets. Time is running out for control of Junie and Violet's lives, and Junie doesn't know who she can trust, or who she can turn to, or if she just needs to run. It made me think of Black Cake, a former book discussion book, which we, as a reader, uncover Eleanor Bennett's questionable young adult life as it is revealed to her two adult children after her passing. A winding story with secrets and beautiful writing. It also made me think of Homegoing. This one focuses on two half-sisters born in Ghana. One marries an Englishman, and the other is imprisoned and sold into slavery and shipped to America. This one's a family story of struggle and overcoming, and also an excellent writer.
In Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fietto, Winifred Noddy arrives at Ensor House in Grimwolds, England, ready to embrace her role as the perfect governess. She's prepared to tutor the children, Drusilla and Andrew, tell them bedtime stories, and make light jokes about eating children. But as days drag on in the gloomy estate, she becomes increasingly aware of the unsettling behavior of the Pounds family. Mr. Pounds can't keep his eyes off her, while Miss Pounds takes a twisted pleasure in punishing Winifred for her husband's attention. The entitled, insufferable children only add to Winifred's growing disdain. As Winifred navigates her suffocating existence at Ensor House, she finds herself battling the dark urges of her past. French lessons, needlework, and the eerie portraits in the gallery fill her time, but it's the moonlit strolls across the lawn that keep her mind occupied. When Christmas approaches, Winifred is biding her time, patiently awaiting the chance to deliver very special gifts to the dear souls of Ensor House. Full of sardonic humor and leading to a shocking conclusion, Victorian Psycho takes readers deep into the mind of a chilling new literary psychopath. Your likes are going to be What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Retired soldier Alex Easton is called to the decaying ancestral home of his childhood friend Madeline, who is dying from a mysterious illness, only to discover disturbing signs of decay and disease in both her and the surrounding environment. This is a take on the fall of the House of Usher. And then we got Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. In 1950s Mexico City, socialite Naomi Taboada is sent to investigate her cousin Catalina's mysterious illness at the isolated Doyle family estate, High Place, where she discovers unsettling secrets about the family. As Noemi uncovers the dark history of the Doyles, their sinister plan to use her genetics for their own survival becomes clear, and she must fight to destroy their cursed legacy before it claims her and her loved ones.
Show Don't Tell is a witty short story collection by Curtis Sittenfeld. This author has written both novels and short stories in the past. Her latest contains 12 stories that explore marriage, friendship, fame, and artistic ambition, and largely focuses on middle-aged urban Midwesterners. In one sparkling comedy of manners after another, the author documents with a clear and affectionate eye how tiny prejudices and blind spots lead her protagonists astray. These stories entertain and unsettle in equal measure. If you want a taste of her writing, you could check out You Think It, I'll Say It, which is an earlier work of short stories. This one specifically explores social class and gender. You might also check out So Late in the Day by Claire Keegan. Claire Keegan has been shortlisted for the Booker Prize before, and this book contains 3 stories that examine gender dynamics and human vulnerability.
The first 2 were very good. I didn't enjoy that one as much for some reason.
Claire Keegan's? Yeah. In Back After This by Linda Holmes, a podcast producer, reluctantly agrees to host a new series about modern dating. Cecily Foster has put her dating life on hold after getting her heart broken several years earlier. She's been focusing on her career and waiting for an opportunity to produce her own show. Her boss has finally offered Cecily her own podcast, but it involves setting her up on 20 blind dates, as well as taking the dating advice of an online relationship expert. Neither thing is she keen on doing. But she does, and Cecily begins to have feelings for a photographer named Will and finds herself having to choose between love and career. Booklist says Holmes once again crafts an engaging, appealing tale of a woman coming into her own and learning to leave her people-pleasing ways behind. Blending witty humor, a tender romance, and true character growth, this is a winner. So for read-alikes, first is The Unseekable Greta James by Jennifer E. Smith. In this one, a musician who is heartbroken over the sudden death of her mother ends up accompanying her father on the Alaskan cruise that he and his late wife had booked for their 40th anniversary. And it results in a journey of self-discovery. And Miranda in Retrograde by Lauren Lane. This one is a rom-com in which a physics professor decides to throw caution to the wind and live by her horoscope predictions for a year.
Harlem Rhapsody is a fictional retelling of the fascinating real-life story of Jessie Redmond Fawcett. Fawcett was cast by W.E.B. Du Bois to run and edit The Crisis, which was a magazine popularized in 1920s during the Harlem Renaissance. Jessie, discovered literary gems like Langston Hughes, Countee Cullen, and Nella Larson. Writers and poets across the country wanted to be published and recognized in The Crisis at the time. The magazine gave voice to people of color during a time of civil and social unrest, and our author Murray drives into this woman's personal and professional life during a saucy affair and her struggles to work facing sexism and racism. If you are interested in the time period, please check out Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick, which is a collection of short stories and essays written when Hurston was a college student during the 1920s and only recently begun to publish. They show her range, her humor, and her reflections before she was a recognized author. If you're interested in the historical fiction component, please check out Murray's previous novel, which was written with Marie Benedict, the personal librarian. It's the account of Belle de Costa Green, who was hired by J.P. Morgan to curate a collection of books and art for a library, and she became a powerful, extraordinary, and exemplary woman at the time with much success, despite a lot to overcome. A consistent, fascinating writer as well. The Quiet Librarian. So this one's going to focus on main character Hannah, who's quiet, middle-aged. She's a librarian in Minnesota. She enjoys her privacy. She enjoys a good book, lots of quiet time. One day, a detective arrives with the news of her best friend's murder, and Hannah worries that a dark secret from their past is going to catch up with her. 30 years earlier, Hannah was not Hannah, but she was a teen in the mountains of war-torn Bosnia, where she was forced to survive and join a band of militia. After surviving many violent episodes, she was able to escape to the US. Now she's worried somebody has found out about her past and is coming for revenge. Hannah is also struggling to protect her best friend's grandson during this. Hannah will use many skills that she learned from her past to survive. Part historical fiction, part thriller, interesting main character we're all going to be reading for. Made me think of last year's How Can I Help You by Laura Sims. This one's a sharp suspense where no one knows Margot's real name either. Our main character, Margot, is not who she seems. She seems charming and kind, the kind of person you want to run into at the library. Nothing suspicious. Until the library hires someone new that notices Margot isn't what she seems, and she's got a little sinister side to her. She starts to dig into Margot's past, and then the thriller really takes off. Now, if you're looking for thrillers where someone's not who they claim to be without the library bend, made me think of The Quiet Tenant. This one's going to be a dark thriller as well. Aiden is a hard-working family man, beloved, respected, great for the community, lives in a small, quiet area of upstate New York. Things are not what they seem for Aiden's life. He's actually a quite dark character behind closed doors. And a local woman, Emily, is in danger when she develops a crush on Aiden. Will she figure out she's in danger in time? A very complex character.
Waiting for the Long Night Moon by Amanda Peters. In this poignant collection, Amanda Peters weaves together traditional storytelling and lyrical spare prose to explore the dignity of Indigenous life, the painful realities of systemic racism, and the resilient strength to endure. A young man returns from residential school only to find that he can no longer connect with his parents. A grieving mother discovers purpose and healing as a water protector on the front lines. A nervous child dances for the first time at a Maui Aldi. The collection features the Indigenous Voices Award-winning title story, Waiting for the Long Night Moon, along with other powerful narratives. At once sorrowful, unsettling, and ultimately redemptive, the stories in Waiting for the Long Night Moon serve as a powerful reminder that where there is grief, there is also joy. Where there is trauma, there is resilience, and above all, there is strength. Rita likes How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu is a speculative novel that follows a series of interconnected characters navigating a post-pandemic world after a mysterious virus emerges from the Arctic and begins to ravage humanity. Through a collection of poignant lyrical stories, the book explores themes of loss, resilience, and human connection as individuals confront the trauma of a global crisis, all while dealing with their own personal grief and survival. And then Overstory by Richard Powers is a sweeping novel that intertwines the lives of 9 diverse characters, each deeply connected to trees in unique and personal ways. Spanning several decades, the story explores their individual journeys as they come to realize the profound impact trees have on their lives, as well as the role in the planet's ecosystem. A Curse for the Homesick by Laura Robson. On the island of Stenlund, there is a time known as Skeld season, a period when any woman can wake up with 3 black lines on her forehead, marking her as a Skeld. For 3 months, the island lives in uncertainty. For anyone a Skeld turns to stone is irrevocably dead. Tessa's mother killed Soren's parents during her time as a Skeld, and for that reason alone, Tess and Soren should never have fallen in love. Since that day, Tess has longed to leave Stenlund to escape the windswept island, her family, and the burden of knowing that one day she could be the one to kill Soren. Soren, however, is determined to stay, to live and die on the island he calls home, even if that means facing the dangers of scout season. They are torn between love and duty, unable to reconcile their conflicting desires. Tess wants to run away for his sake, and Soren wants to leave for hers. But how do you weigh the risk of destroying someone you love in order to protect them? Robson weaves a thought-provoking story about the choices we make, the responsibilities we bear, and the complexities of regret. My read-alikes are going to be The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern, which tells the story of Le Cirque des Rêves, a mysterious circus that appears overnight, offering a breathtaking, magical experience, all while a fierce competition unfolds behind the scenes between two young magicians. Celio and Marco, trained from childhood by their secretive mentors, the two are unaware that their love for each other is intertwined with a high-stakes battle of imagination. And The Book of Love by Kelly Link. Laura, Daniel, and Mo return to their hometown of Lunsend, Massachusetts, nearly a year after dying, only to find themselves trapped in a supernatural bargain with their former music teacher, who tasks them with magical missions to reclaim their lives. Jack Wang's The Riveter in Vancouver, 1942. Josiah Shane arrives in the city, eager to build a new life amidst the turmoil of World War II. Like many Canadians, Josiah wants to prove his loyalty by serving his country. However, Chinese Canadians are barred from joining the army, their citizenship and loyalty questioned. Undeterred, Josiah finds work as a riveter in the shipyards, helping to build the Victory ships that will carry Canada's wartime efforts. One evening, Josiah hears Poppy singing at a Navy club. Despite their different backgrounds, the connection between them is immediate and intense. Soon, Josiah is spending his nights at Poppy's small wartime home. Their romance is full of hope until Poppy's father arrives, revealing the harsh reality of their situation. Determined to prove his worth to Poppy, her family, and himself, Josiah heads to Toronto, where he's finally offered the chance to enlist. Read-alikes are going to be Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet by Jamie Ford. In 1986, Henry Lee revisits the Panama Hotel in Seattle, where the discovery of Japanese-American belongings from World War II reminds him of his childhood friendship with Kiyoko Okabe, a girl he loves and lost when her family was sent to an internment camp. 40 years later, Henry searches the hotel's basement for a long-lost object, confronting the sacrifices he made for love, family, and country. And Facing the Mountain, a true story of Japanese-American heroes in World War II by Daniel James Brown, is a powerful chronicle of 4 Japanese Americans families whose sons volunteered for the 442nd Regimental Combat Team during World War II, fighting in France, Germany, and Italy under the unimaginable conditions. Through extensive interviews and archival research, Daniel James Brown also tells the story of their immigrant parents forced into concentration camps in the U.S. and highlights the bravery of a young man who resists government injustice, showing the resilience and sacrifice of Americans under extreme pressure.
People of Means by Nancy Johnson focuses on a mother and daughter who follow shared dreams but decades apart. Mom Frida goes to college in Nashville during the Civil Rights Movement and struggles in unanticipated ways. And later in the 1990s, we see her daughter in Chicago dealing with microaggressions and racism at her professional PR job. Insightful, richly imagined, this title, Book of Means, is an emotional glimpse into the struggle of women of color and the power of love and family. be sure and check out Nancy Johnson's previous novel, The Kindest Lie, which came out in 2021, to favorable reviews. Everyone from O Magazine to the Chicago Tribune to NBC News to Marie Claire all said this was a great book pick of the year. It alludes to every family having secrets, and in modern day Chicago, Ruth is an Ivy League educated Black engineer and happily married. Her husband wants to start a family, but Ruth first needs to find the baby she gave up for adoption and make peace with her past. It also made me think of The House of Eve. It takes place in Philadelphia with Ruby. Ruby's goal is to be the first in her family to go to college, but her family members are definitely holding her back. In Washington, D.C., a parallel story, Eleanor arrives at Howard with ambition and some secrets, and she falls in love, and she doesn't want her romance to hold her back from achieving her goals. Both stories take place in the 1950s for fans of historical fiction focused on women's struggles, and it promises to be a great ending as well. We would never. So no one is more surprised than Haley when she is accused of murdering her husband than Haley herself. Haley was always the peacemaker in her family. Her mom nicknamed her Sunshine. She was always, doing what her family expected of her, knocking out her parents' expectations, being the go-to kid. Months before her husband's murder, there was a custody battle and a lot of relationship stress and separation being planned, and family members were getting sucked into drama and picking sides. And Sherry, her mom, just wanted to be close to everyone, keep everyone together. Nate, her older brother, was very protective. And Solemn, her father, was the stable and secure one. At least that's what it seemed, but he's got some secrets too. Part gripping mystery, part compassionate family drama, We Would Never explores the lengths people go to for their family, and how in the absence of forgiveness, love and hate can get intermingled and turn deadly. Kirkus Review suggests this book is far more about the characters and morals than the mystery, and says it is propulsive, disturbing, and begging for a screen adaptation. So that made me kind of perk up a little bit. So it made me think of some other mystery screen adaptations. The plot is also a psychological family thriller. This one follows young novelist Jacob, who had some success, but now he's not living up to his expectations. He's teaching somewhere he's not terribly proud to teach. He spars one day with one of his students. The student's very cocky. The student's bragging about this brilliant book idea he has. And Jacob's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Great, go on. So Jacob's waiting for the student's career to take off and never really hears about him. And he looks up the student and finds out the student has passed. So Jacob steals the book idea and publishes it as his own. Bam! Back up to his expectations. Doing great, selling a lot of books. Everything sounds great until he gets a mysterious email that alludes to his secret. Another great book to movie adaptation was The Last Thing He Told Me. This one, Owen Michaels disappears, but he leaves behind some clues for his wife and daughter. The wife and daughter struggle with what should they tell the FBI? What should they keep a secret? They investigate a little bit themselves, and they're quickly finding out they did not know Owen Michaels as well as they thought they did. And they're in a struggle and a race to find him, and they're kind of second guessing if they even should. Okay, so check those out for some great thrillers.
In Shift, acclaimed psychologist Dr. Ethan Kross challenges common misconceptions about emotions and offers science-backed methods to manage them effectively. He explores how emotions, though often seen as overwhelming, are actually viable sources of information that guide us in making better decisions. Kross explains that emotions act like an immune system, helping us react appropriately to situations when understood and utilized properly. Drawing on groundbreaking research and compelling real-life stories, he demonstrates how we can shift our emotional states to achieve greater success and well-being. By examining tools already at our disposal, our minds, bodies, relationships, and environments, Kross reveals how we can take control of our emotions instead of being controlled by them. with actionable strategies, Shift empowers readers to transform their emotions, lives, and foster resilience in themselves and others. Real likes are going to be his first book, Chatter, where he explores the power of our inner voice, showing how self-talk can either motivate us or sabotage our success. Drawing on groundbreaking research and real-world examples, Cross reveals how negative self-talk, or chatter, can harm our health and relationships while offering practical tools to transform these internal conversations for a healthier, more productive life. And in The Power of Regret, Daniel H. Pink, who challenges the popular belief that living without regrets is ideal, arguing that regrets are an essential part of life that can help us make better decisions and lead more meaningful lives. Drawing on extensive research, including his World Regret Survey, Pink identifies 4 core regrets that reveal what we truly value, offering a science-based 3-step process for transforming regret into a powerful tool for personal growth and success. And in American Poison by Daniel Stone, the untold story of Dr. Alice Hamilton is revealed, a pioneering doctor and public health activist who fought against the rise of leaded gasoline and its dangerous effects on public health. When a factory worker's sudden death in 1924 prompted Hamilton's investigation into industrial safety, she confronted the deadly consequences of the booming auto industry and its push for progress. Despite the devastating risks, as the first female professor at Harvard and a leader in industrial medicine, Hamilton was determined to protect workers and prevent further tragedies. Reader likes are going to be Radium Girls by Kate Moore, which tells true stories of the young women who worked in radium dial factories in the early 20th century, blissfully unaware of the deadly poison they were exposed to. As they begin to fall ill, these shining girls bravely fought against corporate negligence and launched a groundbreaking legal battle that ultimately led to crucial workers' rights and reforms and saved countless lives. And in Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, groundbreaking work that exposes the environmental dangers of widespread pesticide use, particularly DDT and its devastating impact on wildlife, ecosystems, and human health. Through meticulous research and vivid storytelling, Carson illustrates how these chemicals disrupt the delicate balance of nature, causing harm to birds, insects, and other species, leading to a silent spring where the songs of birds no longer fill the air. I did read that in college.
Song So Wild and Blue is a warm-hearted memoir about the author's love for Joni Mitchell and her music. So more specifically, Lasicki, who's a novelist, writes about how Joni Mitchell's work has shaped his writing throughout his life. He was introduced to Mitchell's work by his 4th grade music teacher, and it proved to be the beginning of a lifelong love of her music. As the author puts it, Joni's songs saved my life. Each chapter bears the title of one of Mitchell's songs. And if you're interested in reading more pertaining to Joni Mitchell, Traveling, I think, came out last year by Ann Powers. She is a music critic, and she draws insights from the life of Joni Mitchell through extensive interviews and archival research, and charts the course of her musical evolution. She Come By It Natural by Sarah Smarsh, for more, along the lines of influential female musicians and their influence on others. This one explores how the music of Dolly Parton and other prominent women country artists has both reflected and validated the harsh realities of rural, working class American women. The Trader of Arnhem by Robert Burkake. This is a thoroughly researched and paradigm-shifting book about Operation Market Garden, the greatest airborne operation the world up to that point had ever seen. This was an operation launched by the British after the victory on D-Day with the goal of seizing Berlin and winning the war, but the Allies' plans were betrayed by Russian spies and the operation therefore failed. Drawn from newly released archives and shedding fresh light on the spies responsible for its failure, The Traitor of Arnhem is the remarkable account of the battle that would transform the conclusion of the European campaign and set the stage for the Cold War. Mysterious Case of Rudolf Diesel is another book that's kind of looking at an untold story of history. This one is looking into the mystery of what happened to the inventor Rudolf Diesel, who invented the diesel engine, and disappeared mysteriously on the eve of World War I. And then Betrayal in Berlin by Steve Vogel. This is the astonishing true story of the Berlin Tunnel, one of the West's greatest espionage operations in the Cold War, and the dangerous Soviet mole who betrayed it. Talk to Me is a devastating memoir by a cultural anthropologist and grandson of a former president of Haiti who was ousted after a coup initiated by the Eisenhower administration in 1957. Daniel Fignole was forced to resign, and his children, one of whom is the author's mother, were kidnapped and taken to the U.S. After years of being unable to get his mother to open up about her past, Rich travels to Haiti as an adult, where he unearths government documents that help him understand his family's history. Salman Rushdie calls it a brilliant, absorbing book. I couldn't stop reading it. A couple similar reads would be The Home That Was Our Country by Alia Malik. This one is about a Syrian-American journalist who returns to her family apartment in Damascus and kind of tells the history of that building. And A Man of Two Faces, the author of this one fled his hometown in Vietnam and came to the U.S. when he was 4. But talks about his visiting an adopted sister who still is living in Vietnam. And it's about his grappling with his dual Vietnamese and American identity. The Lost and the Found by Kevin Fagan is a powerful and deeply reported narrative of homelessness, despair, and hope. Set in San Francisco, it takes an empathetic, character-driven approach to exploring the human side of what's behind the homelessness epidemic. This author is a Pulitzer nominee who has covered homelessness for decades and was himself homeless for a time as a young man. Specifically, it tells the story of 2 unhoused individuals named Rita and Tyson. The book is also a compelling look at the link between homelessness and addiction, and an incisive commentary on housing and equality. Similar books would be Made by Stephanie Land. This one, a journalist describes the years she worked doing low-paying domestic work. And then Evicted by Matthew Desmond. He's a Harvard sociologist, and in this book he examines the challenge of eviction as a formidable cause of poverty in America. And that was the last one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming. Here's a little glimpse at next month's calendar, but we will of course be here same time, same place for Books in Focus.
Thank you very much.
If you have any questions or need help finding anything, let us know.